5 years ago, social media networks were a niche fad. Today, they are an integral part of most people's online activities. As a population as a whole, we interact with our mobile devices 40 to 80 times a day. 91% of mobile internet access is for social activities. 73% of smartphone owners access social media networks at least once per day. 50% of smartphone users connect to Facebook every hour of every day. Maturing in a time where media has been expanding vastly, the college population has been impacted through a number of media's outlets. The impact of an unrealistic body image constantly surrounds individuals, and social media is influencing people's self-esteem. Is it ethically permissible for media to play as large a role as it does in the lives of people, and has society allowed media to become too influential, ultimately causing more offense than benefits? We will first look at media through the eyes of a Christian worldview. Today's society is saturated with media that has countless images of the unrealistic, photoshopped, and perfected bodies of men and women. These images flood our mind when we think of the ideal, healthy body that actually does not exist in reality. The verse 1 Samuel 16:7 states, "But the Lord said to Samuel, Do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." This verse just clarifies that people should not become consumed by the image of their physique. The heart and its purposes are what should be monitored. People who live with a Christian worldview should not be influenced by the body image factor of social media because they understand that their beauty and self-worth does not come through comparison of the eyes of the world, but it comes through the eyes of the Lord who created us. People using social media networks will also tend to only post highlights that portray a perfect lifestyle, when in reality, this is just brushing their challenges under the social media rug, where no one will see or hear about them. In actuality, no one person lives a life that is only comprised of enjoyment. It is important to recognize that the Lord has different paths for everyone, and He gives an assortment of different gifts to different people. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." With this in mind, a Christian worldview on social media would allow us to understand that the Christian walk is not an easy one, and the Lord's power is proven triumphant in our weakness. So rather than using social media to portray a fake lifestyle, the Christian worldview would allow us to use social media to present real struggles and the Lord's sovereignty in them, ultimately being an outlet for others to see the Lord's faithfulness. In fact, 45% of church staff use Facebook every day. 46% of churches as a whole say that social media is their most effective outreach method. This further demonstrates the possible influence Christians can have on society because of the mass amounts of people social media can allow them to witness to. Because of Satan's hand in advertising and the way it affects our thoughts, it is so important that everyone keeps their focus on where their true self-worth comes from. One of the best examples of a positive form of persuasive marketing is New Spring Church's promotion. New Spring Church has done an exceptionally moral job at drawing people to Christ through the church. All promotions are not satanic, but sadly in today's time, lots of trends have had negative effects on people and the way they perceive themselves, with or without the promoted material. This is a perfect example of how people living with a Christian worldview can use advertisements and marketing to bring glory to God and His creation. We will now look at media through the eyes of a postmodernist worldview. Our generation today has the ability to look up any religion, belief, clothing trend, music trend, entertainment, and more with the click of a button. Ultimately, the postmodernist worldview arises from the fact that people allow themselves to be shaped, molded, and influenced by all the worldly items and people which are so easily accessible. Although there is no proven single cause of body dissatisfaction or eating disorders, research clearly shows that the media plays a major role in contributing to these body image problems. The overexposure and pressure brought on by media has led to many people being dissatisfied with their body image. Postmodernists would allow media as a whole to influence the way they view themselves and their self-worth, allowing their sense of body dissatisfaction to ultimately be driven by people and the images of the world. College is a time to explore interests and develop into the individual you wish to become. With social media making such a negative effect on so many young people, It can make it difficult for these young adults to find their voice or individuality. Facebook depression is a recently coined term that means depression because of being on and under the influence of Facebook too much. 20 out of 23 students said that social media causes them anxiety and adds stress to their daily lives. These students are being drawn to a postmodernist view of the world by letting Facebook and other forms of social media consume a vast amount of their time and thoughts. Satan easily sneaks into individuals' lives that are experiencing feelings of emptiness or loneliness, times when we are most weak and in need of gratification. In addition, some persuasive marketing techniques are most effective and aim to grab people in the midst of several emotional states. People often put their self-worth in materialistic things that come from the earth and not from God. This represents how advertisements and media trends can affect people living with a postmodernist worldview. In conclusion, there are ultimately many positive and negative aspects to media, but the influence it plays on individuals' thoughts or lives comes solely from their desires and whether they choose to worship things of the world or the Lord who created the world. With that being said, our group has individually struggled with allowing media to become an idol in our lives in various ways. But through this, we have learned that when people take God out of the center of anything and continue to worship it, the subject can become toxic. All three components focused on under the media's umbrella can easily become idolized by anyone. On the other hand, if we use what He has given us, including all forms of media, to bring glory and honor to His name, He will find favor in His people. In conclusion, the Christian walk is hard during this age and time, and informing the mass population ethically can be challenging as well. But when media is used as an outlet of evangelism, we can confidently say it is not harming society.